Welcome, everyone, to another fascinating and unbelievable story from the world of rare coins, where a tiny copper-colored piece of metal, something we all see and often overlook every single day, has shocked collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people alike with its jaw-dropping value and mysterious origin. Because today we're diving deep into the story of the 2006 1-cent USA coin that somehow became worth a staggering $13 million. And as crazy as it sounds, this humble penny has become a legend among numismatists for its extraordinary errors, unexplainable minting mistakes, and the sheer number of fascinating details that have pushed its worth into the stratosphere, making it not just a collector's dream, but also a powerful reminder that hidden treasures could be sitting right in our pockets, waiting to be discovered. So sit back and imagine for a moment holding a coin so rare and so full of mysteries that it's practically a historical artifact born from a perfect storm of minting anomalies, mechanical failures, and minute imperfections that turned an ordinary 2006 cent into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Because in this case, the coin that should have been worth 1 cent, a symbol of everyday commerce and simplicity, has defied all logic, becoming one of the most expensive Lincoln cents ever known due to its incredible errors and the fascinating story behind how those errors may have occurred, beginning with the year 2006 itself, a time when the United States Mint was using advanced yet fallible technology to produce billions of Lincoln cents across multiple facilities. But even in such an efficient system, errors occasionally slipped through, and sometimes those errors were not just small die chips or faint strikes, but extraordinary, one-in-a-billion anomalies that turned into numismatic miracles. And this particular 2006 1 cent is believed to have been the result of multiple overlapping mistakes, including a dramatic double die obverse, a severe off-center strike, a reverse die clash, and even a planchet composition anomaly that has baffled experts who have studied it under magnification, noting that its surface shows traces of mixed metal layering, unusual tone gradients, and faint imprints inconsistent with standard minting, all of which contribute to the theory that this coin might have been struck on an experimental planchet during a transitional phase or possibly from a test batch mint for another denomination. Altogether, giving it a completely unique identity among all 2006 cents, and collectors have long debated whether the coin's origin was purely accidental or part of a small handful of test strikes that escaped into circulation unnoticed, because its details reveal not just one, but a sequence of minting blunders starting with a misaligned die that caused a faint but visible doubling of Lincoln's profile, with the most notable area being around his lips, nose, and the inscriptions in God We Trust, where the letters appear slightly shadowed, followed by a secondary doubling effect on the date 2006 itself, which gives the impression of motion frozen in metal, and experts examining it through high-power microscopes have found minuscule die polish lines and even partial impressions from a previous die pairing, something known as a die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of design elements on the wrong side of the coin. And that's exactly what seems to have happened here, creating the eerie outlines of the Lincoln Memorial's columns faintly visible behind Lincoln's neck, as if the two designs merge for a split second in the chaos of minting, an extremely rare occurrence that sends collectors into a frenzy, because die clashes of this magnitude are seldom seen in modern coins, especially post-2000 issues. And when you combine that with a misaligned strike that caused the entire obverse design to shift slightly toward the rim, producing a thicker border on one side and a thinner one on the other, you get a visual balance that feels imperfectly perfect, a natural piece of art born from industrial error. And to make matters even more fascinating, metallurgical tests conducted by private grading services and independent labs have revealed that the coin's planchet may contain traces of a foreign metal alloy, possibly a minor zinc or nickel contamination that changed its luster and overall tone, giving it a slightly different reflection under light than regular 2006 cents, almost as if the copper plating was thinner or uneven in certain spots, which could indicate that during the plating process, the machinery malfunctioned momentarily, resulting in inconsistent layering. And that inconsistency over time has created a rainbow-like patina that collectors absolutely adore because it enhances the coin's visual uniqueness and aesthetic charm, making it stand out even more when compared side by side with a standard cent from the same year. And this incredible visual difference, along with the layered history of minting errors, makes it one of the most studied cents in modern numismatics, with debates continuing over whether the coin originated from the Philadelphia Mint or Denver, as the mint mark on this specific coin is believed to be partially missing or obscured. Another mysterious feature that adds to its lore, because missing or partial. Mint marks are themselves collectible errors, often caused by clogged dies where grease or debris fills the recess of the mint mark during striking, leaving a faint or completely absent letter. And when such an error appears on a coin already riddled with doubling, clashing, and off-center striking, it becomes a perfect storm of minting madness, something that no human could have planned. Yet somehow, through fate and mechanical chaos, it happened, producing a coin whose existence defies probability. And that's what truly fascinates people, the fact that out of billions of cents minted in 2006, this single coin stands as a unique fingerprint of error, holding a mirror to the unpredictable nature of precision machinery, where a tiny misalignment or a microscopic debris particle can trigger a cascade of anomalies, each one layering upon the next, until an ordinary coin becomes a piece of history worth millions. And this one in particular has been authenticated and graded by top-tier organizations, receiving immense attention at private auctions and collector showcases, where bidders have gone beyond logic in their pursuit to own a piece of American minting legend, with some believing that it represents not just monetary value, but a tangible embodiment of imperfection's beauty, a reminder that flaws, when rare enough, can transcend their original purpose. And the story only deepens when we look at the microscopic elements hidden on the reverse side, where the Lincoln Memorial appears slightly tilted, with faint evidence of doubled lines on the steps, uneven rim thickness, and a barely visible lamination peel near the edge, which suggests that the outer copper layer began to separate from the zinc core, something that can occur due to planchet contamination, improper annealing, or overpressure during striking, all of which point to a chaotic sequence of events in the minting process that somehow all aligned perfectly to create this single masterpiece of error. And numismatists examining the coin have noted that even its overall weight is fractionally off from the expected 2.5 gram standard, weighing slightly heavier, which could again be due to irregular plating thickness or even the use of an experimental planchet intended for testing automated weight tolerance systems. And that alone opens up an entire realm of possibilities, because mints sometimes test equipment using off-metal or reprocessed planchets. And in rare circumstances, those test strikes escape destruction and find their way into circulation, instantly becoming legends. And in this case, the 2006 1 cent may have been one of those elusive survivors, perhaps even passing through everyday hands before its discovery by a sharp-eyed collector who noticed the odd toning, off-center strike, and unusual doubling. And from that moment, the coin's journey changed forever, being sent for authentication, featured in numismatic journals. The next 1997 D1 cent USA coin. Today, we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of numismatics. The tale of the 1997 D. Lincoln 1 cent coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike by being valued at a jaw-dropping $13 million due to its incredible combination of minting errors, die anomalies, and production mistakes that have turned what was once an ordinary penny into one of the rarest and most talked about coins in modern American history. And as we explore this remarkable story, we will uncover the layers of mystery, craftsmanship, and accident that make the 1997 D penny a treasure beyond imagination. A small piece of copper-plated zinc that somehow defied the precision of the Denver Mint and emerged with defects so bizarre and rare that they not only caught the attention of casual collectors, but also of professional graders, numismatic historians, and investors who see it as the crown jewel of error coins. And As we begin this journey, imagine holding in your hand a coin that millions of people overlook every single day, a coin you could find in your pocket change. Yet this single cent, born in 1997 with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, has ascended to mythic status because of a perfect storm of minting mishaps, metallurgical quirks, and human oversight that combined to create a specimen so unique that it could never be duplicated even if one tried. And this is what makes it priceless to the world of collectors, because in numismatics, rarity is everything. And the 1997 D-cent story begins at the Denver Mint, where millions upon millions of coins were struck that year, with the D mint mark proudly identifying their origin. Yet somewhere amid the thunderous presses and the clinking sound of freshly minted coins, one particular planchet did not conform to the standard expectations of the U.S. Mint. Perhaps it was an improperly mixed alloy or a misfed blank, or maybe a previously struck foreign planchet got stuck in the press and accidentally received a Lincoln design. And while these possibilities sound far-fetched, history is full of such improbable occurrences that have created legendary coins, from off-metal strikes to double denominations, from broad strikes to off-centers, and from die clashes to wrong planchet errors. And the 1997 D-cent appears to encapsulate elements of all of these, showing a combination of off-center design alignment, ghosting from die rotation, doubling on the date and mint mark, and a visible planchet anomaly near the rim that suggests the metal itself was flawed before striking, creating a texture and luster never before seen on a 1997 D issue. And when such a specimen surfaces, collectors know they are witnessing an extraordinary accident of history, because even a single major error can multiply a coin's value hundreds or thousands of times. But when multiple rare errors appear on a single coin, that's when the price climbs into the stratosphere. And that's why this particular 1997 D Lincoln cent has been called the $13 million penny, an amount that seems absurd until one understands a combination of factors that make it a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting gone wrong. And as we trace its features, we find that the first striking anomaly comes from the doubling visible on the obverse, where the digits in the date 1997 appear shadowed and slightly displaced, a telltale sign of a double die obverse, which occurs when a working die receives multiple impressions from the master hub that are misaligned, resulting in raised and duplicated elements on the coin itself. And while many double dies exist across various years, few have the crisp separation and dramatic visual impact of this coin, which shows doubling not only on the numbers, but also in Lincoln's eye, lips, and the Liberty inscription, creating an eerie, almost ghost-like effect under magnification. And to make matters even more astonishing, the mint mark D itself appears repunched, meaning the Denver mark was struck into the die twice at slightly different angles, which in itself would already make the coin collectible. But in conjunction with the double die, the repunched mint mark compounds the rarity exponentially. And then comes the planchet error, which might be the most mysterious aspect of all, because metallurgical analysis suggests that the coin's copper plating was unevenly applied, causing microbubbles and pitting across parts of the surface, particularly on Lincoln's jacket and around the rim, giving the coin an unusual texture that refracts light in a way that standard cents do not, producing an iridescent sheen that many initially mistook for artificial toning, but which later examinations confirmed as natural and mint-originated, a characteristic that alone makes it unique. And then we have the striking pressure anomaly, where the reverse design shows the Lincoln Memorial slightly flattened on the right side, suggesting that the coin was struck under uneven pressure, possibly due to a misaligned die or a foreign particle caught between the die and the planchet during striking. And such pressure variances can create ghosting effects where parts of the design appear faint or smeared, which is precisely what this coin exhibits, particularly under the word states and near the base of the memorial steps and all. These combined give a 1997 D-cent a surreal, almost handcrafted appearance that feels more like an artist's engraving than a machine-produced coin. Yet what truly sent collectors into a frenzy was the discovery that the coin weighed slightly off standard, coming in at 2.43 grams instead of the typical 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc cents. A difference small enough to pass unnoticed at the mint, but large enough to raise questions about the composition of the planchet, because such weight. Deviation could suggest that the coin was struck on experimental blank, or even a foreign planchet mint for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign issue. And when you combine a potential off-metal strike with doubling, repunching, and die rotation, you get a coin that defies every expectation of quality control. A miraculous convergence of errors that by sheer chance created something so exceptional that it now carries a multi-million-dollar valuation. And collectors know that. Money follows rarity. But rarity alone isn't everything, because the 1997 D-cent also carries historical significance as part of the late 1990s era, when the U.S. Mint was transitioning through various quality and production adjustments due to new equipment and changing metal standards. And that context adds further intrigue, because coins from that decade sometimes show transitional oddities, like misaligned plating or premature die wear, making it plausible that such an extreme error could have occurred, and experts who have examined this specific coin under high-power microscopes have noted subtle die cracks extending from Lincoln's shoulder to the rim, a pattern consistent with a die near the end of its service life, meaning it might have produced only a handful of coins before being retired, which helps explain why no other identical specimen has ever surfaced, cementing its uniqueness. And the coin's provenance adds another layer of allure, as it was allegedly found in circulation by an unsuspecting person who later brought it to a coin shop, unaware of its significance, only to be told that what they held could be one of the most valuable modern cents ever discovered. And when the story hit numismatic forums and later the media, the legend of the $13 million penny was born, stirring debates among experts about whether such valuation was speculative or justified. But the more it was studied, the more undeniable its extraordinary features became. And when it was finally authenticated and encapsulated by a major grading service, its grade of MS 67 red with full strike details solidified its status, because such a grade for a coin with multiple mint errors is almost unheard of, and that combination of condition, rarity, and error complexity makes it not just an error coin, but a historical artifact that bridges the gap between industrial precision and human imperfection, reminding us that even the most controlled systems can produce accidents of beauty. And as we imagine the coin's journey from the mint presses to the pockets of ordinary Americans, then into the hands of a sharp-eyed collector who recognized its significance, we can't help but marvel at how a single cent can tell a story of chance, craftsmanship, and destiny. And that's the magic of numismatics, because every coin, no matter how small, carries the history of its creation and the fingerprint of the era it was born into.